In this lesson, we're going to look deeper at arrays, and we're going to convert a string to an array, and then we're going to convert it back to a string. So before, when we were talking about strings, I wanted to tell you about the split method of it, but at that time we didn't know about arrays. So now that we have some understanding of arrays, we can look at this split function. Paste some code in here. Okay, so I'm creating a variable a, it's set to my name, and then we're creating a new variable, and b is equal to a. We're running the split function on a, and we're giving it this parameter, and the parameter that we're giving it is an empty string. And what happens is when we provide an empty string here, it's going to split this string on every character. So what we're going to get is we're going to get an array back, and the first element of the array is going to be a, the next element is going to be n, the next is t, and so on. Alright, let's write some of this stuff out. Okay, so let's see what we have here. So the first thing I did was I said a is a, then we're checking the type of a, we're breaking down, okay, a is a string, and then we're writing out a, okay. The next thing is b is a, what type is b, and then we're writing that out. So we can see the changes that happen to the string. So now b, it says it's an object, and when we write it out, we're getting this kind of output. And the reason we're getting this output is because this is an array now, okay? And in order to output this array to the browser, it needs to show it to us in a way that we'll understand. So it's separating all the different elements of an array by this comma. Okay, you can see that I didn't put this comma anywhere. This is the default behavior, which is it's going to provide these commas to show us the different parts of an array. Okay. Now, one interesting thing here is, why does it say that it's object here? Right? We thought this was an array, but now it's telling us an object. Okay, and the truth is, in JavaScript, all arrays are objects. Okay, so with objects, there's different kinds of objects, and one of the kinds of objects is an array. Okay, now in other programming languages, it might not be like this, but in JavaScript, an array is a type of object. So let's do another loop. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. Another for loop. And what I'm doing is I is set to 0, I is less than b's length, okay, here's b, it's an array, I++, then I'm writing out each element of the array, and then after that I'm concatenating on 3 dashes. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, and it's like that. So we can see that b is definitely an array. We're looping through each element of the array, and we're attaching this. Okay. Alright. Paste some more. Okay, so what I'm doing here is, we saw here that it's an object, okay? And there's a way we can check which type of object of this. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating an if-else statement. And we haven't looked at this before either. And basically, the way this works is this. What is inside these parentheses here? Okay, if this evaluates to true, then we're going to run the statement right under it. If this is not true, it's going to jump to the else statement, and we're going to output this. Okay, but if it's true, we're going to write this, and then we're going to jump totally out of the if statement to whatever's below it. Okay, and let's see what this says. Okay, and it says it's an array. So even though we have here that it's telling us that it's an object, it's also telling us that yes, b is an instance, it's an array instance. Okay, it's an array. If it was an array, it would tell us that it's not an array. Okay. Paste a little more. Alright. So here I'm creating a variable called color1, and color1 is set to a new string, and the string is green. Okay, so this is creating a string object right here. It's not a primitive data type. This is a string object. okay, but it's just green, okay. Color 2 is set to red, and we created this in our usual way of creating a string, and this is a primitive data type, which is a string. Down here we have color 1, instance of string, okay, this will return true, and color 2, instead of string, this is going to return false, and it's going to tell us that color 2 is not an object, and we can see that in this if statement. Let's see. Okay, so here I'm using an if statement to see if it's true or not. So I'm saying if color 1 is an instance of string, okay, color 1 is right here, this new string object, okay. If this is an instance of string, then we're gonna write this out that it's an object. If it's not an object, this is gonna get output that it's not an object. And let's see what it says. Okay, and it's telling us green is an object. If I change this here, change this to color 2, and we'll see what it says. Okay, red is not an object. So we can see the difference even with a simple string like green and red. How it was created, you know, gave it a different data type. Here it's an object, here it's not an object. Okay, so going back to what we wanted to do in the beginning, I had my name here. So what I wanted to do was take my name, and in PHP it's called exploding. So we're taking a string and we're making it into an array. But in JavaScript we use a split function. I'm taking each one of these characters and I'm breaking it into an array. All right. One thing I should note about the split function is I gave it this empty string. So what it did was every character got put into an array. But we could have done something different. Like if I put something that's not there, like an L. Okay, let's see how this changed. Okay, now there's no L. So it wants to know like where do we explode this? Okay, where do we blow it up? L. It's not finding an L. So what it's returning is it's returning, you know, the whole thing as an array, but it's all together. It's not split up by anything. Okay, let's do something that's in my name, like T. Okay, let's try to split up by the T and see what that does. Okay, and here we can see that it was split up. AN is so this is all an array. This is the first element of the array, and then this is the second element of the array, and it's separated by the comma. And you can see what happened here as well. Okay, so let's put it back to the empty string. And another thing is this split function, it also takes another parameter, which is what is the maximum amount of array elements that we want to return. So if I put a 4 here, okay, so now you know, just as before, it split on every character, but now we're saying we only want a maximum of 4 returned. Okay, so here we see in our array it has 4 elements of the array, and same thing here. Okay, but in this example we're not gonna give it that parameter. We're just gonna do like that. Okay, so let's refresh. Alright, so what I want to do is now I've converted it to an array, and now I want to put it back to a string, and then I want to check to make sure that that's a string. Let's go down here. Okay, so let's see what I'm doing here. Now I'm creating a new variable which is C, and C is set to b.join. Okay, we're running the join function on it, and we're giving it this parameter, which is again an empty string. Okay, so what's happening here is B is an array, and we're running the join function on it, which is going to put it back to a string, and so it's going to put it back to a string. And what this is here is, well, okay, it's saying the array is separated into all these different elements. Well, what do you want me to put in between them? Okay, we don't want to have anything in between it, right? So let's see what happens here. Okay, and it put my name back to the way it's supposed to be. Then we check the type. What type is it? and it confirmed to us it's a string. Okay, we could have done this in different ways. I could have put a plus sign in between, right? So now it's separated with plus signs, but it's still a string. Okay, but let's put it to how we wanted it, like this. Okay, that's all for this lesson. See you in the next one.